NPS commended Kenyans for being law-abiding and heeding the call to maintain law and order. It further encouraged anyone with information about individuals involved in criminal activities who are still at large to come forward and share that information at the nearest police station or contact them via toll-free numbers 999 or 911 or 112 or hash Fichua Kwa DCI or use the number 0800-722-203. However, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has expressed concern about serious human rights violations committed during the Saba anniversary protests, which included deadly violence, arbitrary arrests and a heavy-handed police response throughout the country. In a press statement, KNCHR Vice Chairperson, that is Dr. Raymond Njeri, confirmed that by 6:30 p.m. last evening, the Commission had documented 10 deaths, 29 injuries, 2 abductions and 37 arrests in 17 counties. The protests held to commemorate the historic 1990 Saba pro-democracy movement brought normalcy to a near halt in some parts of the country. And Manyata constituency residents have demanded for the release of their area MP Gitonga Mukunji, who was arrested on Monday afternoon under unclear circumstances. Advocate Ndegwe Njeri said the legislator was arrested at around 3 p.m. and booked at Kibi police station at 3:53 p.m. The OCS said Mukunji was later picked up by officers from the DCI based at Juja police station. The MP's current whereabouts remain unknown and his vehicle remains parked at Kibi police station. Authorities have yet to issue a formal statement on the reasons behind his arrest. Activist Boniface Mungai has dismissed ODM leader Raila Odinga's statement about not attending Saba at Kamkunji ground, saying he's being used by the government to control citizens who are angry with its administration. Mungai says Raila should keep quiet on leadership matters after agreeing to work with President William Ruto's government. On his part, Raila said that Saba shouldn't be used by goons to disrupt peace, further criticizing leaders who use peaceful protests to cause violence.
It is quite unfortunate that some of the people we were fighting then and who sanctioned those arrests are trying to hide behind Saba to advance their political fortunes. Some of them are alive today and now are masquerading as liberators. On the fateful day, it was not one group against the entire nation. It was not community against that community, or of this age against that age. The movement stood for a peaceful and constitutional change of guard.
And in the international scene, rescuers in Texas searched Monday for bodies swept away by flash floods that killed almost 90 people, including 27 girls and counselors, at a summer camp that was destroyed by torrents of water. The United States was shocked at the disaster over the 4th of July holiday weekend, and forecasters warned of more flooding as rain falls on saturated ground. State officials on Monday put the overall number of dead from the flooding at 88, and Texas Senator Ted Cruz told reporters that the toll was continuing to rise. President Donald Trump has said he may visit Texas later this week, but brushed off concerns his cuts to weather forecasting and related federal agencies had weakened warning systems. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Waliletea fujo Moi mpaka wakapata cooperation. Wakakuja wakasumbua Kibaki mpaka wakachukua nusu mkate. Wamekuja wakazungusha Uhuru hapo mpaka wakaenda na handshake, program yetu ikapotea, BBI ikaendelea, tukazama, tukaingia kwa madeni. Sasa mimi nimewaambia, hii serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla. Hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna handshake, hakuna hiyo borojo.
Jana nimeona wale wazee tulishinda. Ati hiyo mzee akisema ati he will not be coerced or intimidated to joining our government. Wewe mzee sikia. We have no business within our government. Hatuna haja na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. Stop saying that people can force you to come to this government. Forget about being forced or coerced. We are not interested because sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto, arekodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, dhabdhabina kama William Samoei Ruto.
Mimi Hassan Joho nikitaka kuongea, mimi I don't even dream of engaging with them. Ati huyu akitaka aje aongee sio na mimi niongee na Ruto nini? Mimi nikamtafute atanipa nini? Wilbaro.
I wonder.
Nilipeleka Wilbaro mimi la kimtaani la kucheza nalo zamani.
We have a choice to reject over 60% of these names or give President Ruto his skunk. Apart from a few individuals who are not even more than 8, the rest are incompetent, unqualified, have integrity issues, are people who cannot deliver this country from where it is to the next level that we want the country to move in.
A few moments later.
Now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
Nguruwe kujiganga na mafuta yake.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
All right, looks like it's going to be a different kind of Tuesday. We'll take a look at the traffic and see what is happening on the roads this morning. A little bit of that as you then get into the city. We're seeing some traffic also starting to build up already on the Thika Superhighway as you come into Survey. Just a little bit of it. But then further ahead, as you come in from Kahara, Sukari through towards Garden City, that has already built up quite some, and it looks like it's going to be a busy morning. All right, as you come off of Outer Ring, getting towards the Allsops Junction, just a smidgen of that. Jogo Road heading towards Landis is also a little bit busy, but as you come off of Langata Road, you're doing okay. The Southern Bypass going then towards Hool Garden looks good as well. Ngong Road, which was a beehive of activity last night, seems to be cool for now, getting into the city. We're going to keep an eye on all of this and see how Tuesday pans out. We'll talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
A very, 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 very good morning to you. It's the 8th of July. Mama, we made it. Good morning, Dennis Okari.
Good morning, Ndo.
You're wearing one of my favoriteest combinations.
Which is?
Burgundy and mustard.
Oh, yes. Oh, you could see the mustard.
I could see that. We can always see the mustard.
I was trying to hide it.
We can always see the mustard. And then to my left, also one of my favorite combinations of colors.
Black.
Black and black. You guys, you woke up with me. Okay, let me rephrase that.
Yes, we woke up with you.
With me in mind.
In spirit.
Jeez. You get in trouble very early in the morning.
Though. Like, how did that happen?
Good morning, Guy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Salamo.
Another day in Gong Road craziness. People did not sleep.
Acha. 9:30 p.m. gunshots and whatnot at around 1:30 when I was getting home. Naivasha Road was just packed full of what would be goons, police officers and whatnot. So, but good thing of knowing your hood is you always know your way around. So, yeah.
Where?
Is it? Yesterday it appeared the cops also knew the other ways around.
Jana.
Kawa West was the same thing I hear. My friend was, this is around 9 gunshots.
Yeah.
Around 9 to 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, 9:30 p.m.
I mean, this is one of those days you wake up and you want to check up on everyone. Like, how are you? Did you wake up? Did you get home?
Yeah.
How is your neighborhood? Because after what you saw yesterday, I mean, traffic has just resumed as normal. But going now to, well, the CBD, nothing really happened.
Yeah.
But if you go to the estates, is when you're waking up and you're like, whoa, there's a bullet hole on the wall, on the walls. There's a supermarket that was torched. There's this house that was broken into. There is this and that and this and that. So focus now is really on the estates, like how have people woken up this morning?
Yeah.
Because for the better part yesterday, people just holed up inside their houses. Scared, can't leave.
Sadly, and I have that video of the young lady. Obviously, I don't know who was taking the video, whether it was her or somebody else, but she was just screaming and she was just saying, "Do you moja mila ingene?" And they were basically looking at bodies on the ground, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" For you to experience something less than 300 meters away from where you are, and then to just see people running for dear life, and then you ask yourself, "What is this? In which direction should we be running?"
Yeah.
And if we're running away from the bullets, are we running towards a better tomorrow? That we have to ask. That folks who ran away from bullets, those who ran away from destruction, those who ran in a direction away from this threat, were they running towards a place where tomorrow you don't have to live in fear of the bullet? And if we can't answer in the affirmative, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. That's a question that we have to ask. In what direction are we running?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday, and the one thing that he told me is the government might think that it won by not having protesters in the CBD. But what exactly are you presiding over? People who are afraid. You are presiding over a stagnant economy. So what exactly have you won?
Yep. Look. We can't bury our heads in the sand. We must have the conversations. I remember that I heard the Member of Parliament for Belgut watched a bit of an interview that he gave yesterday, and he said that your job as media is to inform and communicate. And I said, absolutely, you're right. It is. Our job is to inform and communicate. And also, informing is not just what we see, but also then what we can analyze and what we can depict and what we can deduce from what we see. And that's our job. And one of those things is to keep this information front and center. And that's why we have these conversations that we do. This is a situation. Good morning, Ndu Dennis. And Dennis with you this morning. And guess what? Eve is here. Eve. She's in blue from head to toe. Even her mug for coffee is blue. Is it coffee inside the mug?
The coffee is also blue.
She's even showing us. It is blue.
Everything is matching.
Yeah.
And then Raniar is also here. I greeted him in the morning, but he was talking to somebody important.
Yeah.
So
he couldn't make it here yesterday.
No. Yeah, it was good that he didn't. That he had to stay, away because obviously it was difficult to make it through to these parts.
True.
So we're very happy to see the two of you as we get things moving. You're cooking in the kitchen and get into the conversation for today. Muko area nawaona kabisa as we pile into the room this morning. Karibuni sana. Our live streams are up on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. Our audience on KTN. Karibu sana. We're going to get into a number of conversations, and I'll tell you what those are. On Sunday, a number of women went into the compound of the Kenya Human Rights Commission. What they went to do was have a press conference around making sure that, somebody got the message that we would really appreciate it, sir, if you would not kill our sons. That was the message that they went to give. No sooner had they started this information giving or plea, that goons came down, broke the gate, entered into the compound and started to cart away things and essentially put the fear of God in their hearts. We're going to look at that, and we're going to talk about the role of women in advancing democracy. Dr. Njoki Wamai is a political scientist and international relations lecturer at the United States International University, Africa. Irene Soiler is Kenya Human Rights Commission Program Advisor. They'll both join us at 7 o'clock, and we'll have conversations around this. Then, today is the 8th of July. It's one day after Saba. The thin line between peaceful demonstrations and hooliganism. We saw too much of this yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, another supermarket, God knows what happened. People locked in because, they were stealing things. We saw people looting, carting away. I mean, come on, all kinds of things. So the question is, and then again, we did see the goons. So the question is, who is funding this, the business of conflict, whether on an internal, external, global scale, is not cheap. Somebody's got to be putting their sense behind this, and not their other sense, but the sense that jingle. So we're going to ask those questions and have a conversation around post Saba with Duncan Okach, who is an advocate. He joins us at 8 o'clock. And then we're going to close things out at 9 a.m. with the Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga, who is the Regional Director of the National Council of Churches of Kenya. He joins us at 9 and we'll be looking at faith, politics and public accountability. With whom does the buck stop? Those are the conversations that we have this morning. At 7, we'll talk with women in democracy. We'll talk at 8 about post Saba. And then 9, you've heard many things about the building of a church and who's going to... Well, we'll talk about that at 9. So that's what we have in store for you today. Thank you for always joining us and getting into the room early as you do. Let's talk about these things and let's not bury our heads in the sand, shall we? We are in Kenya, literally. Yes. But also, our proverbs are from Kenya this week.
I think even as we are in the country, just throw it back to us in here, to each of us just talk about something great about the country. I'll start with you, Dennis. Something beautiful about Kenya.
Is there something beautiful about Kenya? I mean, the people and the landscape. Kenya is a beautiful country. I've had the privilege of at least traveling, well, nearly everywhere in my 20-year career, and you meet some of the most beautiful people you'll ever meet in life, and also the landscapes. There are places you go to and you start thinking, am I still in Kenya because of the beauty that I feel we don't really sell enough? And so, yeah, Kenya is a beautiful nation, beautiful people. Everything is beautiful, apart from a few things here and there that we need fixing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that struck me when I came here first. And I think that there's just so much to see. And I think Kenyans don't see enough of it. And that there's a lot to be appreciated here from the environment. And then speaking then from the environment and the way it is, the beautiful, beautiful country. But then one thing that sticks out from that is the resilience of the people. It's a beautiful thing to see. That people, no matter what, will be beaten down, will rise up. Will be beaten down, will rise up. And I think that's a beautiful thing that many people can learn from. Unfortunately, I think that it's been taken advantage of quite some. But there's a lot to celebrate. I'm just going to stop there because I don't want to, you know.
I think I look at the different cultures that you have in the country and how beautiful it is. You go to different tribes, talk about all the tribes that you have in the country, and each tribe has something that is unique to them. And one would hope that with all these uniqueness that we all have, if it could all just be harnessed to create this beautiful culture that is the Kenyan culture, would just go places. You know, there's a reason why initially when people used to talk about the national airline KQ, with all its troubles, you still board KQ and you look at the service that you receive from those ladies and gentlemen who are serving in the plane. You're like, yeah, finally I'm home. You know, it's just beautiful to experience. But anyway, so our proverb today comes from the western part of the country, the Luya land. This is a Luya proverb translated to English, and it goes like this.
Oh, no, we need you to say it in Luya. Come on.
Sasa wacha hivi. Mluya atatuambia kwa comment. Okay? A child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. A child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. What do you make of that?
It's a very interesting proverb because that actually happens from where I come from in the western part of the country. Well, I think in most parts of the country, where if a child is either born out of wedlock or a child, all these incidents you hear of mama alikuja na mtoto, and then there's a way they're treated by their step dad, step moms and all that. We see that a lot, and they grow up with rejection. They grow up feeling unwanted, and as you raise them up, if you're not careful how you take care of them, they're the same people who will come to bite when they get that opportunity. So my literal translation is exactly that. There's a way rejection breeds anger, and there will always be that pressure point when somebody will just wake up one day and decide, you know what, enough is enough, and they will destroy what you care for, what you love the most, and it won't matter to them.
I guess so. I mean, here I'm thinking that there's a push for there's a need for acceptance at whatever place that you are, and whether we want to admit it or not, you want to feel accepted at some level in whatever you do, wherever you go. And whether it will be subtle or overt, you will do something to insist that at some way or some level you feel that acceptance. So if it's burning the thing down or just striking a match, you'll do something to make sure you get there.
Yeah. So just look at it in terms of neglected individuals will always fight for justice.
Fight for their space.
Fight for their space and for them to be heard, not just seen. You could relate it with what is happening in the country. You neglect the youth for a very long time until they say enough is enough, and it's a time that you have to hear what he's saying, not just be seen and be used as postcards.
That's true. Absolutely. So, indeed, many people online this morning. Let's say a quick hello to everybody. First of all, a roundabout congregational hello to everybody. Karibuni sana. And thank you for always joining us as you do very early and also very late stuff from folks who are on the other side of the pond this morning. So, always good to have you. Thank you so much. And let's start off and say hello. Greetings to you, Robert Mbogo. You're tuned in from Mombasa. Everything is okay. One thing that we say as though it's, like normal is that we say, please check on the people around you. But I'm actually asking that we please do this, that the people around you where you live, that there's some places that were really hot yesterday and that there could be somebody hurt, there could be somebody injured. Please check on your friends, check on your people to make sure that everybody is okay. Rose Grace tuned in from Tamu. Good morning. Ndu and Dennis Squared. Kenya needs prayers. Indeed, we can do what we need to do. Don Saba, good morning. Does the state hear when the Genzote are asking what they're asking for? I think we're going to go into that just in a little bit, because do you actually hear what we're asking for? Yeah. Do you hear what people are asking for? Perhaps if you did, you'd do something about it. Jogo Monica says, good morning. Spices, another way to start the day. What was that we saw yesterday? I know. Joe Mungai tuned in from Bonnie Lake in Washington. Our nation must reconsider its path. Not even the political class should persuade us to harbor such intense hatred for ourselves and others as we currently do. Leo says, good morning, Princess Ndu. Good morning, Aseto and Dennis. Just imagine this environment during the election year. Same agitation, same repression in June, July. Will election be held, or are we being prepared for no election? Austin Mudasia says, the whole thing is spiraling fast. Sebet Yusuf, good morning. Tuned in. Princess Ndu and both Bazoo Dennis. Bazoo ni nini sasa?
Bazoo, Wazito.
Oh, sorry.
Bazoo.
You have to say it like that.
Yeah, you see when the voice change.
Okay. Yeah.
Madongare.
Featherweight and lightweight. Combined together, Bazoo.
Dungarees.
Wazito.
Wazito.
You said dungarees.
Madongare.
Same thing.
Wazamta. Okay.
You're teaching any stuff.
Clearly, I don't know that I'll remember it at 7:29, but okay, we move regardless. Bernardito says, good morning, tuned in from Doha. Princess Ndu and Dennis Squared. Yesterday was another movie with the same actors. Unfortunately, we continue to lose lives. Unfortunately. Good morning, SpiceFM. Tuned in from Garissa. Abdi Kadir Hawadle. Kenya is bleeding these days from violence, division, and economic struggles. We truly need prayers, but also unity, leadership, and accountability. I couldn't have said it better, my friend. Mashari and Njeri tuned in this morning. It says, good morning, Ndu and Double D.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all? Watching from Portland in Oregon. Toti Bishop says, kama hizi video hazikupe hasira, you ain't human. Hasira inapanda vinoma, especially dragging the lifeless body of a fellow Kenyan. I cried. Maybe that's why I cried yesterday. And I said, what is this? Come on. You can't imagine that this is happening and that you think nobody is seeing. Or that you think nobody has recorded it.
You know, there's this police officer who was just running around saying, I have the license to kill you. Niko na ruhusa ya kukuua.
I can't. You're right, Toti. If it doesn't do something in you, if it doesn't stir something in you, to see that life has been so devalued, it's not surprising then that we see the things that we are seeing. And I've been asking myself this question for almost a year now. What value do we place on human life? If the value that we place on human life is top, you see all these things that we complain about, they wouldn't surface. They wouldn't. Mm-hmm. We've devalued life.
You know what I worry most, not for us, because we're here for a short time.
Yeah.
You know, for our age, if you do another 40, it's a miracle, actually. I worry about the next generation. Yesterday when I was driving home, there were kids, little kids, who are actually singing, playing football, and saying, one time. These are little kids.
Yeah.
Kids are watching all these things going on. They're watching this. And so I shudder to think what their future is going to look like, because what they're exposed to at their age, on social media, on the screens, everywhere you go, newspapers, everywhere, the carnage, the deaths, the chaos, you see, those are imprints in their minds, and they're growing, watching all these things, and to some degree, they'll become so normalized that we'll have a generation that is going to be so numb. You see how you're feeling that pain? How you're feeling? How you feel? We're going to raise a generation that will actually not feel anything, you know? And so...
You know, I saw a video somewhere of kids in school simulating a protest, simulating how that would be, and it was all about safety. And you would see kids become, some being cops, some demonstrators. And one thing that stood out is when the cops were running in, some of the students were shot dead, and others came to save them, protesters taking them to, and I just thought, and
they're dramatizing it.
They're dramatizing it actually in school, CBC and whatnot, and I was just like, yo, what are we doing? If kids know you go to a protest and some will die, and they actually show you this is what we see, this is what we know about our country, what are we communicating?
Toti, you're right. Austin, we see you. Good morning. Carol Nyambura says, good morning, everyone. Noah Pendasana, wishing you a blessed day ahead. Thank you for always tuning in, Carol. Mama J says, good morning, lovely people. When will we have our come to Jesus moment and realize what started as an innocent Gen Z movement has now become an instrument for anarchy? Mama J, that's a question. Eugene Odhiambo says, good morning, SpiceFM. The situation in the country of late is quite absurd. Lawlessness, loss of lives, destruction of property. Ain't sweet melodies to our ears anymore. I don't think they ever were. Acheng J says, good morning, Spice family. If the group standing between Raila during his media briefing is anything to go by, we have truly hit rock bottom. Okay, Acheng. Mutuflani, not a good morning, to be honest. I hear you, bro. I understand it, definitely. The desecration of a dead body is past humane. It's exposed the animosity our police have. It's not a great morning. Austin, we hear you. But, you know, here we are. So just take it easy. Sarah Kilonzo, good morning, Spice FM. Today the nation is bleeding. Hawana huruma na maisha ya vijana. So sad. Very, very sad to see. Jaka Tambo, good morning, from Narok, my fellow Kenyans. What was that we saw? Is everyone okay? And that's the question that we're asking. Is everyone okay? We're going to take a few minutes to do this morning. Eric Owar says, good morning, guys. Kavoy Felix tuned in from Kathonzweni. The dream of having a peaceful country is still a dream. Robinson Kisero says, good morning from Hong Kong. Sad to hear the police say, and I quote, utalala kwa fridge. Niko na ruhusa ya kukua. Good Lord. Murkomen's words are coming to realization. Anarchy, and soon we will be deep into a failed state. Angor says, Chamgay, my people, greetings from the city of Nairobi. Peter Wanjala says, good morning, Okari and Aseto, tuning in from Tudo in Mombasa. Nyasembo says, good morning. Hisa Daniel tuned in from Atiak in Uganda. Matthew Kivara tuned in. And the Dennises from Indiana. Yesterday's tragic incidents reflect the country's steady political decline. Rogers Lai, Sabalheri Nyote kutoka Mombasani, good morning. Agola, good morning, sister. Hope that all are well and safe. Again, I'm going to say, check on your people. Dr. Venvik tuning in from Diani. My prince, good morning, fellow citizens. I hope everyone is safe. The sisters, good morning, back to life. For some. Robert Nduiga says, good morning. Young Jedi, we see you. It's morning, but not a good one. I hear you. The loss of life yesterday was not necessary. I weep for Kenya. Onganyi Malala says, good morning to everybody. The police brutally getting out of hand. We're losing too many lives in these demonstrations. Commander Wanyoike says, good morning from the Republic of Azania. Hapo ni wapi sasa? Good morning, Spices. Today is a where kind of day it is. Isaac Dulo tuned in. Hope everybody woke up safe. Something has got to give. Yakunda Emmanuel says good morning. Sometimes I wonder if I'm truly in my country. Kimathi, good morning. You're wondering also. Habari ya Spice, revolutionary journalist Asante Sana. Margaret Kimani is asking, Your Highness, our beloved president, please note you must intentionally meet those youth and have honest black and white dialogue as their president. Simon Kibiru says good morning. We thank God for a new day despite it all. Martino says good morning, and the People's Observer is tuned in this morning. Young Jedi, we see you as well. Keith Kinoti says good morning, D&D. Pray for us in Gong and Rongai. Gunshots till early midnight. Yeah, I mean, we hear that. And I hope you tell us what's happening there now. Do we have some peace, calm, at least, that has been restored? Please tell us what's going on. We'll talk about this. Kennedy Award, good morning. Mzalendo, you might be right. Dan Steele Langat says, I cry for my country. Mwenda Pole, good morning. How are things in Munshin? Tibbs Muge says, good morning. Yesterday, the government told Kenyans their priorities, and you should believe them. Great Mteru says, good morning. Yesterday, the government proved how powerful it can be. Yes, Kenya is beautiful. Mwenda Pole says, Vusher Vandu Vefwe. Things not vulai, they're not. Now in vernacular, I hear you. Kennedy Ongwai, good morning. RB, the criminal government has to fail, is what you say. Giovanni Restone, good morning. Ivan Omondi, good morning as well. Mike Wainaina is also here. So many of you guys in the room this morning, and we're going down the list. Julius Song, Saint Emmanuel, Regina, T9, good morning. Subscribers, your husband Sidon is also here. Abraham Kimeli, Edwin, Mealpot Bakers, Albertina Kasoa, Isaac Derito, Christine Vilum, Collins Otieno, Sir Brian Mutego, Mr. Henry, Dismas Ombuya, Collins Otieno, like I said, Manna East, Mobrix, Pumzi, Dennis Kiprotich, good morning. Unfortunately, yeah, and Dennis Kiprotich says, good morning, Ndu, Dennis and Okari, my bedmate at Arneson's High School, Dennis Toll. That was his high school cube mate.
Yeah. He's also called Dennis.
Who? No, Dennis is this one, but he's... Kiprotich is greeting Dennis.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I know we take some time to do that, but it was necessary for us to do because we're well into the hour. But just to say, and this is our hope, that even as we say hello to everybody across board, it's really a cry out that everybody is okay. We know that 10 people died yesterday. The number could be more. Not could be, it's probably more. Because of what we heard. Officially it said 10. Let's look more into those details, shall we? We look into the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. The headline, brute force. Once again, the government unleashed brute force on Kenyans exercising their democratic rights to protest, sealing off the capital and major towns, the razor wire fences around state houses in Nairobi and Mombasa, and the houses of parliament exposed a leadership so fearful of its own citizens that it would rather confine them to their homes than hear their grievances. The police, now seemingly President Ruto's last line of defense, killed at least 10 Kenyans, adding to the mounting toll of innocent lives lost. This crackdown comes just days after The Economist warned that Ruto is taking Kenya to a dangerous place, end quote. That's the front page of The Standard this morning, and there it is. It's the weapons of war and the people in the background. The first few pages of The Standard are pictorials, but pictures tell 1,000 words. And that's what we look at. Protest fear grip state as silent streets speak louder. It was a ghost town. Even during COVID, we didn't see ghost the way it was looking yesterday. We didn't see that. And so this is what it cost. Nairobi decries a loss of 10.4 billion shillings in a day when the clampdown of the police took place. Businesses shut everywhere you look. 3 journalists attacked while covering protests, sadly. Businesses paralyzed as demos fever spreads in counties, and Kisumu was calm. The roadblocks that sealed Nairobi, and the police said, we were told no one gets in. So they were following what? They were following orders. The Matatu sector counts an 800 million shilling loss. I mean, we were told that 1 billion shillings passes hands throughout the country every day. At least 10 killed, scores injured as unrest spreads across the counties. And how one-term chant stopped the SGR train. It's page after page after page of this stuff. But this is where we are, and this is the reality. CS Roko's threat fails to bite as most civil servants avoid offices. They said 8 to 5. They said, how are we going to go there? How do you expect us to get there when you've shut down the city? That's what we're looking at in the pages of the Standard. Do you have it digitally in the Nation, Dennis?
Yes, I do. On the front page, Saba, the big divide. 17 is the number of counties that reported protests. Hotspots were Nairobi, Kiambu, Kisii, Nakuru, Embu, Kajiado, Nyeri, Narok, Laikipia, Murang'a, Meru, Machakos, Kirinyaga, Uasin Gishu, Kakamega, Makueni, and Nyandarua. With all these pictures, it's so you get fatigued looking at all these images because you don't know where to look anymore. Everywhere you're seeing is just shutdowns, deadly protests. Page 2, rocking estates environs. So what we saw yesterday, there were more than 25 roadblocks situated at strategic points on different roads leading to Nairobi CBD. But all the action was around the estates. Normalcy prevails in 30 counties, 11 people killed and at least 29 injured. So those figures will keep changing as the day progresses. Police blockades turn Nairobi into ghost city. Images of how the CBD looked like as protest moved into the estates, where that is where we saw a day of contrast, empty streets but chaos in the estates. Raila slams police as he calls for dialogue. That's another story in there. ODM leader says talks should lead to a referendum on key national issues. And then demonstration shakes 17 counties again. But what I'm also, there's a story here. Esther Passaris shelves protest bill after public outcry. That's another story there. So the pre-publication process stopped to enable Kenyans give the proposals. And she says input from the National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK, and other stakeholders influenced the move. And she says, I've decided to pause the pre-publication process of the Public Order Amendment Bill 2025 to allow for national dialogue and wide public engagement. Those are stories in the Daily Nation.
Yeah, so the People Daily, murderous regime, at least 10 killed, 30 hospitalized with bullet wounds in a demo shutdown. This as Ruto silences streets as he blows horn for church at State House, Nairobi. Now, the risk of Kenya missing 2027 polls deadline, that is in page 8 of the same. And we continue, it is as well page after page after page on the People Daily. Lockdown, bloodshed and abductions mark Saba. We saw several arrests that were equally made yesterday, and relative peace in Nyanza as protest is marked, and business owners resort to hiring guards to protect their businesses, and dozens of young people arrested for planning to loot businesses. That is what we have on the People Daily. And on the Star, the headline, Beach Allure, MCA's county chiefs splash millions in Dubai. Are we shocked? It has been the order of business, benchmarking and having this meeting outside the country. Now, executive defies MP's order on audit queries. Now, Parliament is being systematically ignored by institutions it oversees in the executive. As a report by the Auditor General shows, it is emerging that government agencies continue to disregard audit recommendations with near impunity, as well as hunger crisis grows worse in East and Central Africa. Yesterday, the UN's WHO airdropped food aid to South Sudan as war continues to rage in the country.
Indeed. Well, let's look at some of these stories. I know we want to look at them in detail. We will look at this one that's covered on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the Standard. Absolutely. Why do I have to say those numbers? Because the pages are not even enough to cover the extent of the drama that we see. Page 2 and 3 are the pictures. And if I can just hold that up for you to see, are the pictures that capture the situation in the country. And are our lights going out, or am I dreaming? Maybe we need to check on that. But here we are, and those are the pictures that we see. And it's just some of the pictures that were captured around the country. And so a pictorial, and that's why it's called a pictorial, because it's a story. Just look into those and see exactly what it is. Now, let me look at this police clampdown cost. Well, no, actually, it's not that one that I wanted to look at. We know that the economy, of course, lost a lot of money. And we didn't see as much destruction for businesses, though we did see quite some yesterday. And supermarkets. So where do we draw the line? And we're going to have this conversation. Where do we draw the line between protests and hooliganism? It is necessary to have that conversation.
Yes.
And that we see that there are people who are paying these hooligans to go in and then, you do whatever you want. If you're going to steal a TV or, a couch, go ahead and do that while you're, causing this mayhem. But there are lines that we should separate and that we can clearly separate. Like I said, we'll have that conversation later. Yep. The roadblocks that sealed Nairobi, we were told no one gets in. This is what the police had to say. Kenya's capital ground to a halt yesterday as police enforced an extraordinary lockdown, turning Nairobi's normally busy streets into empty corridors of roadblocks and riot police squads. What was meant to be a day commemorating 35 years of the push for political space instead became a city under siege, sealed off at dawn by layers of security checkpoints and and armored vehicles. Saba, July 7th marks the anniversary of the 1990 demonstrations that challenged single-party rule and ushered in multi-party democracy. But this July, the promise of that struggle felt distant as police choked off access to the central business district and major roads, citing orders from above. By early morning, Nairobi was a ghost town. Roads normally clogged with matatus, borders, and hawkers lay silent behind barricades. Police in black armor checked IDs, turned away ambulances and essential workers, and waved aside pleas. The city was cold, drizzling, deserted, dirty, and eerie. At Kipande Road, Jane, a Kenyan Defense Forces soldier in civilian clothes, begged police to let her through. At Kipande Road, Jane, a Kenyan Defense Forces soldier in civilian clothes, begged police to let her through. There are people providing essential services, she urged. An officer replied, "We were told no one should enter the city." It doesn't even matter who gave the order.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter how high up it was. But that they were told very clearly, and what they were doing is that they were following orders, and they said that nobody will get in through the city. Nobody will get into the city. There will be no vehicles. There will be nothing. Even those people, random people who were walking in here and there was no business you were going to open. There was nobody who was going to come and patronize businesses. None of that was happening. None. And the question continues to be in my mind that if truly, I don't think that the threat of anybody walking into an institution is what makes you afraid. And I say this with caution, but I'm going to say it anyway. I believe that what is making the city be locked down in the manner in which it is, with the barbed and the defense forces being in the street and army vehicles, tanks that we see as though it were a coup state, is the fear of accountability. You don't want to get rid of the things that the protests are demanding that you do. You don't want to get rid of corruption. You don't want to be accountable to anybody. You don't want to tell anybody why you spent 8 billion instead of 800 million. You don't want to explain why money is not going to schools. You don't want to explain why 50% of 70% of your population is jobless and unemployed. You don't want to explain why a budget has holes. You don't want to explain or be accountable as to why you have mounting debt. It's not fear that somebody's going to walk into parliament with a rungu or a gun. It's the fear of having to answer to the people who put you in office. And that is some serious stuff to be afraid of. So you can put barricades from here to heaven. But at some point, you'll have to account.
The beautiful aspect of all this is you might barricade Kenyans from entering the CBD. You might protect the government installations, which pretty much is just the property of people of Kenya. But the message is home, that the government is afraid of its people. The reason why you barricade it the way you are is, as Ndu says, is because you're afraid of accountability. But accountability on what exactly? On what you ought to do at the end of the day. You know, when you start telling Kenyans that we are limiting how you're moving in the country, yet Article 39 is clear on the movement of Kenyans within their own territory. What are you afraid of? You are afraid that these people are calling you out on your, let me not use the word, they're calling you out on the nonsense that you are putting on them. They're calling you out because you have failed in each and every aspect of the office that you hold. Promises that you gave them on your campaign trail, and all they're telling you is, hold up, this is what you said. You're doing the complete opposite. At the end of the day, message is home. Message is home.
You know, a few angles to look at this story. You can view it in from different angles. If you look at last year's protests, it was the finance bill protests. They were so organic in a way that I think it caught everyone by surprise, including us journalists, to be honest. When there was a push towards Parliament and finally they breached, we were now entering an unknown territory in the history of this country, where you had young people who are going to where you would call, quote unquote, the seats of power. And they're saying, we are going to our parliament. It's not yours, it's our parliament. This is where the laws of the land are being made. You can't force something down to us without accountability, like you rightly put. And what did they do? They went through the tunnel, went to KCC rooftop, helipads, choppers were landing and flying out, getting all these people out.
Taking ambulances.
Others hiding inside ambulances. Those are the two parallels. Well, on the streets, these young people are being tear gassed, were being shot and murdered. And you look at that image, and there was a question is, where is the president? And by the time he was coming in, the first briefing he gave, you could tell he was very, very angry. From the wordings on his script or teleprompter to what he called the protesters. You remember?
Yeah.
What he called them. And he was very angry. Angry because I think this thing, how it morphed into these large crowds getting into the city, nobody had anticipated that would happen. And so, by the second protest, already conversations were happening. And the security meetings and security briefings will always happen around this kind of thing. So the political security dynamics will always play out. And by the third and the fourth and the fifth, I can't even number how many protests we've had so far since last year, up to now yesterday, you look at every time we've had this protest, there's a call. Mr. President, do something about it. And he doesn't. My take on this is, it doesn't mean he's silent. He is speaking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He is speaking very loudly.
He's communicating.
And he's doing it through other means.
True.
It's up to you to read what exactly is in his mind. Because from the first protest where he said, okay, fine, I've heard you. I'm not going to sign this bill. He dissolved the cabinet and it went on the X space talking to the young people. He was actually taking down notes, mentioning names, and he appeared to be, okay, finally, I'm listening to you. Yes, you are right. I need to deal with this. I have had ministers who are doing things with impunity. I'm going to fix this. Then there was a pause where everyone was waiting. Now, let's see what the president is going to do. Then what does he do? Total opposite of what everybody else expected. And even more. So, because we've gone to a point where it's almost like a point of no return, on the flip side, you're dealing with a generation that is relentless. You will kill every day. And when you go on the socials, you listen to the last protest where some were actually saying, I'm going to speak to my mortician. If I die, this is how I want you to preserve my body. These are not jokes. So we're dealing with a generation that is so relentless, that is unbowed, that is unshaken, unmoved, is not scared, does not walk in fear. And they're saying, however many you will kill, we will still demand accountability. We'll still demand justice. We'll still demand that we don't want impunity in this country anymore. We want good governance. Those demands will not be silenced by bullets. They will not be silenced by how many boots you put to the ground, because what you see is a parallel. The CBD was locked. All the key points getting into the to the CBD were all closed.
Yeah.
But where was the action? It's very clear. When you have a deployed riot police, armored vehicles, manning roadblocks, but then you still have truckloads of officers in full riot gear paired with tear gas, live ammunition, mass arrests, and all this is happening in the estates. You're actually pushing people into those pressure points where we're going to squeeze you into your corners.
You're bringing it home.
You're not coming out. You're coming to your home.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a tipping point where we seriously need to have, this is beyond a conversation. We need to see immediate action. True. We can't wait for another protest, because where this thing now is going, the proportion of concerns, the reported deaths, this is beyond just having a dialogue and having a conversation. And I think the only person who can stop these things is the president. No one else. You can't send a CS to speak. You can't send Raila Odinga to speak. You can't send your spokespersons to speak. This has to come directly from the head of state. And it's not conversations. It's now action. Because we need to see something happen. What we saw, the escalation cycles of what we keep seeing, this is going to morph into something else. That you remember how we started with the protests, where nobody expected to see what we saw. We are at that tipping point where you don't want to test those waters. You don't want to go.
You don't want to see how people.
Exactly. You don't want to push someone to a place where they have no escape. They have nothing else to lose. They're just going to fight back. Those pushbacks will not be good.
You see, Dennis, if you look at the president and the leadership that there is, they're communicating, and all they're saying is, you know what, you might do as you want, we just don't care. We don't give a damn, you know. All we'll do is we will deploy the powers that we have. We are the people who deploy we are the people who deploy violence. We are the custodians of violence, and we'll use it to ensure that you don't come to this town. But what is happening is the people are telling them it's our. Naivasha Road yesterday, were police officers there? Yes, they were. At some point, they were overpowered by the people. They were sent away. They were chased away by the people. And that went on until 9:30 in the p.m. What are people telling you? You will come with your guns, with your bullets, with everything you have, but we'll still fight back.
I want to maybe, as we come to the end of this session, because we'll look at more stories, get yourself a copy of The Standard, the Kenyan's bold newspaper today. Look at some of those pictures that we're talking about. Look at the stories that have been written. Look at the words that have been said. But then I want to ask that, are people influenced to go into a protest? Do you think that people walk into a situation whereby they want a police gun to be pointed at them, or tear gas canister to be lobbed in the direction? Or are we seeing a situation where the resolve of the people is so strong that they're willing to face that bullet, to say, I'll face it if you change, if you make it better? Which one do you think it is? That I can say, because I played sports in high school, so in the huddle in basketball, you're psyching people up. You're psyching people up to go back onto the court and do the thing. Is it a place whereby people say, let's go out into the street and let's see how much more carnage can be caused today? Or are people going out because they're saying, you know what, things have got to change, the needle has got to move? Are people being gaslighted, or are people being encouraged to go out into the streets?
There's a lot of gaslighting happening. If you go on the socials, you listen to the politicians who are in support of what is going on. There's a politician who was saying yesterday, Ninachinja mbuzi leta kachumbari. You listen to the undertones of the conversations. They're so emboldened that if you read some of the things, they cross the red line. But they're posting these things. They've got money. They're driving in big cars. They can fly out of the country anytime they want. But you're pushing a generation and you're going to their residential compounds, you're shooting at close range. All these things that are happening, these people have nothing to lose, like I said. And somebody actually said, the youth are jobless.
Yeah.
And they can keep doing this every day.
That could be their job.
Yep.
Conversations continue. Good morning at 7 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the news wire. I'm Lau Ubaga. The National Police Service has confirmed that 11 people died due to the chaos that rocked Saba protests across the country. Police said 52 police officers sustained injuries while 114 civilians were injured. According to the service, 125 police vehicles, 36 government vehicles and 47 civilian vehicles were damaged. Police have arrested 567 people participating in the protests across the country who were expected in court today. NPS commended Kenyans for being law-abiding and heeding the call to maintain law and order. It further encouraged anyone with information about individuals involved in criminal activities who are still at large to come forward and share that information either at the nearest police station or contact them via toll-free numbers 999 or 911 or 112 or hashtag Fichua kwa DCI using the number 0800-722-203. Elsewhere, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has commended the police officers deployed in Nairobi yesterday for maintaining peace and reducing violence during the Saba protests. Speaking to reporters, Murkomen said the police proved their dedication to protecting lives and property during the protests. Murkomen further said that those involved in the violence during the protests will be prosecuted.
Many goons and criminals did not get a chance to invade properties. But also at the same time, many Kenyans got inconvenienced. Some Kenyans were unable to access their offices. Some Kenyans also, out of fear of what happened last week, did not want to continue with their businesses. To tell them, poleni sana, we just had to do this because we wanted you to be safe and we want your property to be safe. Our intention is positive. Our desire is to save lives and to save property for Kenyans. We have officers across the country who have done their very best to make sure that they contain criminals and goons who are infiltrating a peaceful protest by citizens.
The Kenyan National Union of Medical Laboratory Officers has condemned the attack on health workers and property at a Kitengela Health Centre last evening. Secretary General Pius Nyakundi said that attacking a hospital is an act of self-destruction as you're raiding the same place your own family, children and parents will run to when life hangs in the balance. Nyakundi further demanded for the immediate arrest and prosecution of the goons captured on camera vandalizing hospital equipment, destroying property and setting sections of the hospital ablaze. This event comes as the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society has also condemned the shocking and unlawful invasion of the hospital by armed goons during the Saba demonstrations. COG's president, Dr. Kireki Omanwe, said the goons disrupted an ongoing C-section and vandalized the theatre and thereafter lit a fire at the hospital gate. Omanwe raised concern that the lives of both mother and child were put in imminent danger and the hospital staff were traumatized and impeded from performing their duties. Tension remained high in Kitengela and its environs after a man identified as Brian Kimtai, aged 21, who was a known boda rider, was reportedly shot dead by the police in the area during the protests. And finally, Manyata constituency residents have demanded for the release of their area MP Gitonga Mukunji, who was arrested on Monday afternoon under unclear circumstances. Advocate Ndegwa Njeri said the legislator was arrested at around 3 p.m. and booked at a Kibi police station at 3:53 p.m. That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Traffic.
Very good morning to you. Let's take a look at what's going on the streets this morning. Yes, folks are asking whether the roads are clear. They are indeed, and there's traffic getting in and out of the city. We'll take a spot check into other parts of the country as well, but for now, let's look at what's happening in Nairobi that was essentially shut down yesterday. The Thika Superhighway is crazy. Traffic is coming in all the way from the Roiro interchange, coming in from that Thika Road bypass, and it's heavy through past Kahawa Sukari, out then towards Clayworks, and then finding its way through towards Kasarani, and then on towards Survey. It's busy this morning, bumper to bumper. Folks trying to claw back on essentially what they were not able to do yesterday. Kiambu Road also has some traffic coming in from DCI headquarters and finding its way through towards Muthaiga Square. The northern bypass, that crisscross coming in from Thindigwa, is also busy as you then try to approach Kiambu Road. All right, also seeing traffic on Limuru Road starting to build up here and there, and on Waiyaki Way coming in from Westlands, it's busy. Into the city, Ngong Road, also as you approach the city, then find your way through towards Valley Road, busy as well. All right, before we get into traffic hour, things are already starting to buzz. We'll talk. Keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A very good morning to you at 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the 8th of July, and we're at finding a chance to say hello to our audience. KTN home. KTN, essentially, you are home. Karibu Sana. And our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X this morning. Yesterday we couldn't connect, but Safaricom connected us anyway.
Yes, it does. And if your internet is holding you back, we've got some great solutions for you. You're tired of buffering when you're streaming videos, watching a movie, or you're playing a video game and there's a lag, then listen up. We've got two solid options from Safaricom, depending on your vibe and where you live. Now, I'm going to give you the first one, and this is the Safaricom 5G. This is the power move. Imagine this. You are in the city going about your business, you're in your office, or you're just chilling in your apartment, and boom, you're surfing, streaming, gaming, all at crazy fast speeds. That's what we all love. Up to 50 Mbps. Now, portability, yes, this is the kind of router you carry around and stay online anywhere, at home, the office, even inside your car. TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, Facebook, name it. No lag, just pure vibes. And the best part is it's only 2,999 shillings to get you started. So I'll give you the next one in the next hour. But whichever one suits you, it's time to level up your internet experience with Safaricom. You can visit any Safaricom shop, masoko.com, Naivas, Quickmart, or just dial star 400 hash and make the switch. Safaricom feels good to be home.
Indeed it does. And even as you're looking for a place where you can get your medical attention, remember the Aga Khan University Hospital iko Eastlands. Usiende mbali kutafuta specialist, tuko kwa mtaa wako. The Aga Khan University Hospital has brought specialized care near through 53 outpatient medical centers. Watu wa Eastlands, we've got you with the following medical centers: Buruburu at the Kenya National Library Services Complex, Embakasi opposite the Kenya Pipeline Staff Quarters, Donholm at the Greenspan Mall, Komarok at K Mall, and Ruai along Kangunda Road, Eastleigh through towards General Waruingi Road. Some of the specialists available at the Aga Khan University Hospital in your neighborhood include pediatricians, gynecologists, urologists, family physicians, neurologists, nutritionists, psychiatrists, ENT specialists, dentists, dermatologists, amongst others. Yani, essentially, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. Visit any Aga Khan University Hospital Medical Center in your hood today or call 0730 011 888. I'll say that again, 0730 011 888. Aga Khan University Hospital, world-class care here and now. And now is what brings us to a conversation that we will be having this morning. Two ladies join us today, and they're in the hot seats of the Situation Room. Dr. Njoki Wamai is a political scientist and international relations lecturer at USIU Africa. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
How are you?
Sad.
You're sad? I would imagine. We'll come into and look into the details of that this morning. Irene Soila is a Kenya Human Rights Commission program advisor, and she joins us as well. Good morning, Irene.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Powering.
Okay. We'll take those. For sure. Karibu sana to the Situation Room this morning. We're looking at the role of women in advancing democracy. It's a larger conversation, but we'll zero into why this conversation comes in. And of course, events on Sunday were not really encouraging to see, to say the least. But before we get into that conversation, we'd like to welcome you today with today's proverb, which Dennis will share, and we'd love to hear your interpretation of the same.
Yeah, so our proverb today comes from the East Africa region. The country is Kenya. And I think before I even give up that proverb, I'd like to tell you just what's that good thing we want to say Kenya is well known for.
Kenya is well known for?
Yeah.
Well known, okay. I mean, so many things. It used to be running, tech, M-Pesa, but now, of course, we are known for the gallant, brilliant youth who are fighting for their democracy in Africa.
Soila.
Kenya is known for the home of Africa. Very inviting, very safe to be in Kenya. From wherever you come from in Africa, it's safe to be in Kenya.
So our proverb today comes from the Luya community, and it speaks of a child who needs to be embraced, and a child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. A child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. How would you interpret that?
I think it's very, very apt in terms of trauma, psychology. Maybe the people who are leading Kenya, where are they burning Kenya? Maybe it's time they checked their childhood, what happened. Maybe they were not embraced enough. Because I know we are thinking through it as the youth, but also let's take it to the next level. What about the people who are running this country? Why would you allow it to burn? Maybe we need to start thinking about the psychology of our leaders.
Soila.
that I must belong. I must be happy about belonging. And when I don't belong, then I don't see the need of it. And so it shouldn't exist if I don't belong. Yeah.
Well, all right. Taking those interpretations for sure. So let's get into this conversation this morning, shall we? On Sunday, in the compound of the Kenya Human Rights Commission, mothers came together, and it was for one message that should there be protests the following day. Mothers essentially were asking, and this was across the divide, it broke social strata, right? To say that, don't kill our sons. That was the message that came through. Before we get to what happened after that, what was the point behind having this press conference on that day, on that presser on that day? What was the reasoning behind that?
All right. The first thing that came, it was just a conversation amongst women that we are not really loud when it comes to the current state of the nation. We're not be felt, and historically women have been part of the struggles of our democracy, not just now, but even before independence. We have had a history of women being involved in attaining independence to even now where we are saying we can enjoy the democratic space that we purport to be in. And so women have been part of this struggle. But then the intensity of where we are right now, it felt like women, we are not so out there. And yet the people who are dying, the people who are now facing, the police brutality are not just even the men, but also the young women who have, taken the bolder step to be out there to ask for a more safe country, a more properly defined government that we need, and how they envision it. And so it is the out not being there as women that we saw the need to probably just keep this voice aloud so that the women can continue the struggle, and that they should not, get shy away, considering that the current struggle is also being experienced differently. We can now see women being raped in the process of, being in the struggle. And so it was a moment to encourage women that it is not a problem. It is not wrong to be on the streets. However, we must also be protected because it is a constitutional right. And the only thing we are doing is to ask to be heard. And so it is from that history that we were coming. And so women said, can we then just have a discussion in which then our anger is not just felt on the street, but also just addressing the media to let the government know that we are getting targeted now as women, and therefore we should get protection during this time, and even as we engage in the struggle. And so women just decided, let's have a press conference, and then the press conference from a historical point of view, we can have it at All Saints Cathedral, because All Saints Cathedral was not just decided, it is from a historical place that during the time our women were in the struggle at the Uhuru Park, the only place they found safe was the All Saints Cathedral. And so All Saints Cathedral was coming from a place of safety. So if we did this from All Saints, then we, the women, will not only be heard, but also will be in a very space to speak, not only to ourselves, but also to the larger public. And the church needs to embrace this conversation from a women's lens.
Okay. Yeah. So where did this meeting take place on Sunday?
And so when the church did not give us a chance to have it at All Saints, because it came a bit late that they cancelled the presser to have at the All Saints, we had then to take where is our next space that can be available for us. And so the Kenya Human Rights Commission, because we are part of the Women Caucus, provided the space. And thank you for the Kenya Human Rights Commission. Provide the space because then it is a private facility. The women can come and address the media.
Okay.
So it was at the Kenya Human Rights Commission that all the drama happened.
Okay.
Yep.
So the presser happened. Women came together. One of the messages that came from that was, please don't kill our sons.
Yeah.
Essentially, do not kill our children.
Yes.
And there were women from different divides. We're just going to play a video then of what happened. But just before we do that, this happened after the presser was over or during the presser?
Before.
This happened before the presser.
Yes.
This is very interesting. Let's look at this video and then we'll come back and talk a little bit. So what we're seeing now in this video is that the gates are being forced open, and there are a number of individuals who are trying to essentially take over from the security guards. There are 2 security guards, one female, one male, trying to stop them from coming into the pedestrian entrance. And then, of course, there are folks who are trying to break down the main gate, which we can then see, for those of you who can see on that screen, that they've now overpowered the security, broken open the gate, and then made their way into the compound and then left the gates open. So we're seeing that is Gitanga Road, I believe.
No, Amboseli.
Amboseli. All right. So that's Amboseli Road. And so they're now in the compound. They've disrupted where a number of women had been sitting, and they have now tried to essentially run for safety and into the tents. I'm not quite sure what they were looking for at this point, but they then did go into some of the facilities there, looking to take stuff away, essentially dispersed the meeting, picked up some,
It's an extension
cable that one gentleman has picked up there. One of these individuals has picked up there, and then making their way towards the buildings. And there are women. It's interesting because this one woman has just walked away very politely. Essentially, some are running away from these men, and essentially they are threatening them.
So that one just stole a phone there.
Took her phone that fell out of her hand or fell out of her handbag. He's picked up the phone and walked away. And essentially, they are in this building doing as they would please. And it's, I'm not quite sure how many minutes this is, but this is a CCTV camera that is capturing all of this from the reception entrance now at this point. And they're now cutting away some things.
And that one has stolen the speaker, if you can see.
Yeah, he's walking away with an entire speaker here. Has stolen that. And so they congregate at some level and then find their way towards the exit. They seem to be quite happy with themselves.
So they're violently attacking Kwamchetsi Makoha. That's Kwamchetsi.
That's Kwamchetsi Makoha, who is there now. All right, he's been attacked. They take something from him.
Yeah, his phone.
His phone was taken. So now we see the video of them back at the entrance, and they're at the gate now. I don't know if they've been joined by more, and they want to now come in. There are a couple of women who would look as though they're trying to negotiate with them, or at least ask them to leave. So this happened. Right? We see that having happened. It was, a number of agonizing moments, obviously. So this was before the presser took place. At that point, both of you were there, right? Let's go to you, Doc. What were you feeling at that point? What did you think this was all about?
So first, it was very shocking. You see, it starts at 8:02. That's when 8:02 p.m. So the presser, we were just about to come out. And you can see some women are waiting outside. We were just about to print out the statement, which I have here. And then, and so it was very relaxed. As you can see, some moms came in with their very young children. Many, even others were like, I just want to actually join this and have our voice, have women's voice recorded, that even at this difficult time of Kenya's winning democracy, we said something. And so many women, many were coming from church, others were coming from home to just also relax, meet other women and say just get their voice heard. And so it was a very relaxed atmosphere. And if you found even women were singing, the press, like the international press, I saw so many people when I got in were already there, local. So what happened at 208 was very shocking to all of us. And so we just saw, we were like inside about to get out with this press statement. And then we see the women running in. And we've been attacked. So, of course, all we do is open the door. Please get in. We need to be safe. Get in. Get into the building. Let's first, get a safe shelter. And then the goons come right outside us, outside the building. And they're taking phones, as you can see. They're taking everything. And so at that moment, it's when it hit me what's going on and how shocked I was. My default was, we are going to take photos or we are going to take videos of all these people. Women were screaming, children were crying. And before we know it, they're attacking Kwamchetsi Makoha, who is part of the board of KHRC, who was there also to give solidarity. And they started attacking people. Some people were quite brave enough. Some of them, a few men who had joined their partners, others just activists or who were friends of KHRC, went now to try and negotiate. And some women actually, because it was women from all walks of life, women from all ages were there. Because as you saw, there was nothing to hide. It was a press, the invite was everywhere, even in the media. So anybody came in. And so some actually identified some of these young men. And they even said, I know this one. I'm going to actually negotiate and tell them, what are you doing to us? And then that's when finally, I think these young men said, okay, we give you 10 minutes, get out of the building, but there's no press. We're not going to allow you to go on with this press briefing. Just get out. We've been sent. You won't do this. Get out. And of
they
course,
told you they've been sent?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't do this. You have to get out. And so we all ran out, especially so scared with the children and everybody, and we got out.
So Irene, as the goons walked in and they broke the doors, and what exactly did they say? Why weren't they allowing you to have the press conference? If they communicated the reasons why they were stopping the press conference from taking place.
And I think when they came in, I was the host, and so being the host, there are many logistics that you have to put together so that this then can become a very well and successful event. And so I was in at the time when these goons were coming. If you saw that goon who told the speaker, had just placed the speaker at just near the tent so that I can connect. And so I was even lucky that I had not even left my phone, because I was to connect with my phone so I can start music. And then now we, to just bring women together. Women, there's a way women, convene and, get happy, because it was on a Sunday anyway. And so when they came in, I was inside trying now to get to see how best I can fix my YouTube with a speaker. And so before I left out is when now I found women running in, and I got confused what exactly is happening. But then I heard loud noises. So actually some other people were just trying to break into the main gate. Now you have seen that video. And before you can recollect everything, you realize that you are actually under attack, and then you start thinking of what is our next action. You have so many women. You have as old as a 90-year-old mother there, grandmother actually, and you're wondering, where do I put these people, And so with all that struggle, you are left at a place where you want to know who is this. And so when we sort of tried to interact, we realized the conversations were like, hamutafanya maandamano hapa, and we wondered, maandamano inatoka wapi hapa? So I think the brief they also had was not right, that even if it was a press conference, it was not a maandamano thing. It was just a press conference to give more prominence to the Saba moment.
Okay.
And so it was really confusing, but most of the words that they were talking of is that hamutafanya maandamano hapa, sijui ni nani amewaita. And then I heard somebody else saying ile kichapo tutawachapa leo, mtajua sisi ni kina nani, like those kind of statements to scare away women. But also one thing that I noticed in the whole scuffle is that they realized, I don't know, but I think they realized these are just women, very vulnerable people. And so the moment to say that hatutawachapa lakini we are giving you 10 minutes to leave this place, probably in my view, in my own assessment, is that probably they realize actually we do not have anyone to fight here. All these are just very vulnerable women. The best thing we can do is to allow them to exit. And to tell you what, we also saw women guns. So even when we were fighting the men, we realized there were also women that who were saying hapa leo ni kina mama na kina mama. Mtatutapatana hapa kwa hapa, and I kept wondering, is this a goon or now you don't know who is your ally and who is a woman goon, but then the words and what they were saying, and then you can even see some of them, the women at the gate, those ones were not our women, they were the part of the goons. That's why they were throwing their hands, because now they're part of the men now who are coming strongly to push us out. And then in the midst of all those ones, there were also those ones who decided, okay, let's negotiate. We are not going to fight. Mmesema aje tutoke, sawa, tupatieni tutoe wengine so that we all live together. So it sort of became like, okay, it's okay. We agree. You have won. Now, please allow us to take out all these other women, including our old women. And that's how we managed to have women out.
I'm curious to know, how long did the whole scuffle take?
I don't want to say I know the time, but
20 minutes.
It could be something like between 20 to 30 minutes, especially because some people were unable to they were too shocked to leave, and so you're leaving, but then you realize, hey, I have left other people in. You go back to see whether you can negotiate now with the ones who are negotiating, to tell them, please go and bring so and so. I have seen like I've left so and so, please go for them. So in that whole scuffle, it could be around maximum 30 minutes. That were very intense.
But from the CCTV, you see one camera, you see them from the tarmac now coming to the gate. Some are walking, some running, but some are in threes on motorbikes. They were clearly dropped at the gate. And then we see some trying to push the gate open, and others are trying to push your security guards and to make their way in. During that entire period, did anyone call the police for help? Did you have any security arrangements?
Yes, I would say yes. And I will start by when the lady guard tried to push them out and she was overpowered, the next thing she did was to, I think there's a way, she called for reinforcement. There's a way you can hit an alarm from the security guard company, and that's how they came. Within ourselves, there's a lady who actually had an OCS number, and she called the OCS.
From Mutangari or from where?
Yeah, from Mutangari. She says the OCS is from Mutangari, telling him that please, we are under attack. Where at blah 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 blah. Would you please ask the police to come and help us? And in fact, after all that, and when they went now to report, the OCS said he had sent his own police officers, and somebody was asking where are they, and we didn't see them. They said they don't necessarily have to be in uniform. No. You get, and so they were asking, then how do we get to know that these ones are the police officers? Yet we didn't see anyone coming to support us. So there was that claim that they really sent their police officers, but we didn't see anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, but we saw now the company bring more reinforcements. Yeah.
Okay. I want to take a break at this point, and we're going to come back and continue with this, because then thereafter, at some point, indeed, then they left. Yeah. And then the question then becomes, did the message then come out? It was carried on the front pages on Monday morning, so I guess it came out at the end of the day. But then we'll look at the deeper messaging behind all of this, and then what exactly it means, and probably a little bit more in terms of what came out from the goons when they were there on that day. Dr. Njoki Wamai is a political scientist, as well as Irene Soiler, who is a Kenya Human Rights Commission program advisor. And we're looking at some of these conversations necessary to have in the period in which we find ourselves in. At 26 minutes to 8 o'clock, we'll be back with this conversation after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
When you are unwell, you need a healthcare partner who will prioritize your welfare. Aga Khan University Hospital has brought specialized care near to you through their 54 medical centers across East Africa. And now the hospital has brought world-class care to Raptor Road, Westlands at the Promenade Building. Some of the specialist services offered in this clinic include family physician, pediatricians, well baby, gynecologist, ENT specialist, counseling psychologist, nutrition and weight loss, among others. The Aga Khan University Hospital has also made medical checkups more available through our subsidized wellness packages. These packages are available at a clinic in your neighborhood. Do not wait until it is complicated. When diseases are detected early, there are more treatment options, better outcomes, and quicker recovery. From as low as 10,415, you can get a comprehensive medical checkup in this clinic and at any of our medical centers. Visit any Aga Khan University Hospital Medical Center in your hood today or call 0730-011-888. Aga Khan University Hospital. World-class care here and now.